Hello everyone. I first want to apologize for not uploading this video this past week. I had originally planned on doing it, but my brain has been pretty much fried these past few weeks due to migraine. So yeah, I'll try to stick to my bi-weekly schedule better in the future, but no promises. This week, I want to talk about the superior labor and more specifically their stationery planner related items. They do have larger items, they have camping supplies, they have tote bags, they have backpacks. I'm not talking about those, I'm just talking about the planners, journaling related things. I do have a little bag here from the superior labor, but I'm not going to talk about it in this video. So the superior labor is a Japanese company, it's a small company that makes handmade leather goods and canvas goods. Most of their material come from Japan. They are owned by basically this lovely couple, and the owner himself is also pretty good at making things. I got to meet him and his business partner at the Baumkuchen collaboration event in person. They're both really nice people. They sell on their own website as well as on other websites. They have a few for different countries, and I will try to link the ones that I'm aware of down in the description below. So they make pretty much everything, and in this video I'm going to talk about the pen holders, the pen rolls, the covers, the traveler's notebook inserts, and little knickknacks. So let's first show you some of the items I have here. This one is a pen pouch from the stationery selection. This is the stationery selection logo. This is a canvas pouch. The bottom is painted, which gives it more dirt and stain resistance. The canvas is very, very thick. And this is the superior labor logo here. And they also have all leather pouches. I believe that this leather is an Italian leather. They don't really say exactly what it is, but to me it feels like the Minerva box from Badalasi Carlo, which is a really high quality vegetable tanned leather. The undyed vegetable tan leather they use, like this little tag, are from a Japanese tannery. It's from like a group of tanneries, Tochigi. And if you look inside, this is what I'm using it for, like a pen pouch, but it could also be like a cosmetics pouch and things like that. The bottom is enforced with a leather bottom as well. They have a pen roll, very, very famous, very popular, and as a collaboration with Wonder Pens, they have this little pen sleeve wallet item. These are both pretty commonly seen all the Instagram photos and things like that. And the leather they use for these items are, again, vegetable tan leather from Japan, from Tochigi. They also have collaborations with Baumkuchen. This is an example, it's an all canvas wallet insert for traveler's notebook, regular size. They also have a passport size. I have that in the full leather version, and I think I showed it in one of my unboxings. I'll link it down below. I don't have it here with me. Again, this is not everything I have, but they are pretty representative in terms of the kinds of product they offer. Again, this is a very thick canvas. And another collaboration they do with Baumkuchen is the leather covers. This is an A6 slim cover, and in here I believe I have an empty notebook I've had this for a while. This leather is again from Tochigi, sourced in Japan, and similar to the pouches, this one is a larger utility pouch. Now, this is not advertised as a planner item, but I'm using it as a planner item, so I might as well just include it in the review. It opens like this, and I use it to hold tabs and stickers. It has a few different inside pockets and things like that, and that's basically how I use it. It's the same leather as on the pen roll, and it's also from Japan, the leather. Next, they also make notebooks. So these are stitch bound notebooks with pretty good quality paper, and I believe they only come in the cashier size. Now, the cover of these are what I believe to be the split of the leathers. So usually for something like this, the leather they receive, they will skive it to a much thinner weight. So this leather is very thin. This is 2 layers of it. You can see how thin it is. But then when they take the top part, the bottom part becomes something like this. So it still has the natural flesh side of the normal kind of thicker leather from the tannery, but the top side is basically like the fleshy part, the not grain part of the leather, because the full grain, the grain is on the top layer. So this is obviously not as sturdy. You can kind of see some cracking, but it's still leather. I believe it's from the split. And last but not least, I want to show this money clip. They also make paper clips, and they have pen holders and a lot of things that has this clip. I have the pen holder clips, but I forgot to bring them over. But this is a pretty common thing that you see people own. And one thing I do want to mention is that they do collaborate with a traveler's company as well. So I've shown a collaboration. They collaborate with the Nomado store on some of the products they have. They collaborate with the stationery selection, with Baumkuchen, with Wonder Pens. And the collaboration involves unique product based on the vision of the Superior Labor and the specific shop. And this one is a collaboration with Traveler's Company, or Midori before they were rebranded. So, anyways, let's dive into the qualities. So, I've filled this out so you don't see me struggling with my pen. When it comes to leather type, they're full grain leather. There's nothing to be said there. They're full grain. You can see the variation on the leathers, especially. Let me show you the difference between the front of this pen holder wallet and the back. The back is very kind of pebbly and textured. The front is relatively smooth, but they're the same leather. So you do have a lot of the variation. For tannage, they're all vegetable tanned. I have not, as far as I know, I don't think they use any chrome tanned leather, which is nice because I'm a personal big fan of vegetable tanned leathers. Leather grade, I gave them A-. And here's why. So these leathers are very high quality. They are very good quality vegetable tanned leather. They're relatively expensive. The ones from Japan, I can't get them. I can't find a distributor for that leather, even though I really want to get my hands on some of these leathers. They're absolutely beautiful, and if you look at how this natural one, let me show you, looks, except for the marks that I made on this, they are on the smoother side. So I have received some scrap leathers from the Superior Labor before. They're massive scrap pieces that I was able to use, and I think the reason being that they're more picky about what parts of a hide they use, so they end up selling a lot of them off as scraps because they would need a large piece without too much visible flaws. Now with this one, you can see that there's a lot of kind of texture and pebbliness and whatnot, but none of it is like a scar or bug bite or something like that. So my personal hypothesis is that they use pretty high quality leather to begin with, but because of the leathers being aniline dyed and full grain, they can't guarantee that there's absolutely no flaw on the leather itself. And so what they do is they will essentially sell the more kind of scarred or problematic, not as so perfect areas as scrap leathers, and then I can take them and make whatever the hell I want. And then they would pick the nicer parts of the hide for their actual product. So that's why you don't see, like, the inside is absolutely smooth and beautiful. There's no scar anywhere on this leather, even though it's as natural as it gets. And that's why I gave it an A-. The only reason why I take a point off for this, or I guess like the only reason why it's not an A+, is obviously because there's more expensive leathers out there. It doesn't really say anything about the quality or sturdiness of the leather. As far as I know, they have wallets that they make with shell cordovan, which is like a crazy expensive leather, and of course the wallets are priced as crazily expensive. So I appreciate them not doing that with their other product, because then I wouldn't be able to afford it. But that's where the A- come from. Non-leather components, I'm referring to pretty much just the canvas. They use very, very minimal, if any at all, actually lining. For the inside of all of these, they do not have any lining. And so pretty much the only thing I'm talking about are the canvases. And their canvases are so thick and sturdy and nice. I have kind of abused this thing a little bit, and it looks very new. I had pouches that this pouch is relatively new, but I've had pouches that I've used for like 2 years, and I just put it through the wash and it's perfectly fine. The canvases are really good quality, and that's why I give it an A. For stitching, I give it an A-. Now I have to clarify that their stitching, as far as I can see, are some of the best I have seen on machine stitched leather goods. It's very rare, if any at all, for me to see any flaw in their stitching. It's always really nicely done, nicely lined up. The tension is well balanced, unlike some other makers that I've seen where if it's not balanced, you'll see essentially like a whole chunk or a few of these little parts that will be all on the top side or all on the bottom side, because where they like lock in the hole here is not perfectly in the center. It has not really happened much with their product. They're usually really nicely done. And when it comes to thread, I give them an A-. It's probably as high as I would for machine stitch goods. Their threads are generally on the slightly thicker side compared to some other machine stitched goods I have seen in the planner world. However, one, they're not waxed, they're not as water, I guess, resistant, and two, I've seen some minor snagging here and there. Not sure if this is snagging or just how it was to begin with, but it's so I own a lot of the Superior Labor items, and it's very rare to see any of the threads snag compared to a lot of the other, like the Foxy Fix, Chic Sparrow. I've had some snagging. Giglio, I've definitely had some snagging, and I don't see it nearly as often with the Superior Labor product, which is awesome. So I give it an A-. For edge finish, I don't really know what to say. A lot of the edges are kind of folded in. Like if you see this one, they fold in the edges. Let me see. Here they fold in the edge along here and over here, so you don't have an exposed edge, which I really appreciate. But when it comes to the edges that are exposed, like here, they also fold in the edge so you don't see the exposed edge. When it comes to edges that are exposed, like on this one, they are not really burnished. So some points off for that. And the hardware as in the zipper, the brass, I was very tempted to give it an A. It's definitely between an A- and an A. I really don't know, like the brass, everything they use is solid brass, and the brass rivets they use are so solid. I have taken apart many rivets. These ones, I don't even know how I'm gonna do it because of how solid they are. The zipper they use, the teeth are also brass and very nice. They're very smooth. I have never had an issue with any of the zippers they have. And for this one, again, the rivets are absolutely stunning and just unbreakable. And this little belt thing, I think, is also solid brass. So, I mean, come on, like, this is really good quality. The only reason I gave it an A- is because I know that there are more expensive zippers out there. Is it necessarily better quality? I'm not sure. So, given everything here, I can say that their leathers are some of the best. If you're looking for canvas goods, so instead of a pouch this size in leather, you want it in canvas, there are plenty of options out there. And for the cover, like this one, they also have canvas versions. So if you want canvas goods, these are probably as good as it gets. If you want leather goods, these are some really high quality leathers. Their stitching and threads are not the very best that I have seen in machine stitching, but I'm comparing them to Louis Vuitton. The threads that Louis Vuitton use are just so strong, and their stitching is so well done. But compared to other planner companies, these are some of the best I've ever seen. So that sums up their scores, or letter grade that I give them. Overall, they're very high quality. Now let's talk about briefly how they're made. For cutting, I wasn't really sure, and I think that they have ones where they have maybe some kind of machine cutting, but given how many collaborations do, how many iterations of similar products they make, and just how many different kinds of products they have, I don't think they machine cut everything. So there's gotta be some things that they hand cut. So I gave it a yes and no. Assembly, again, has to be done by person. It's a yes. Stitching, it's machine stitched, so it's a no. Hardware setting, I put a question mark because I wasn't really sure, but I have seen the owner himself setting these rivets with a hammer himself. So I put a yes question mark because I'm not sure how they do it in the shop, but I know that at least for some of them, they're hand setting them. Like they have the tools in the shop to hand set them. And some of the modifications, if you got them from like an event at a collaboration shop or something like that, they're hand set. Edge finishing, I give it a question mark because I honestly don't know if they actually have any finished edges. I think that might just be like a not applicable here. And it's the same thing for edge burnishing. I'm not aware. Oh, I do know that on the personal planner that I have from them, and of course I didn't bring them over here, but they did burnish the edge on that one, and I don't know how they did it, but they burnished it, and I do believe that they painted it as well. I don't know how they did it. Quality control has to be done by person. So overall, there are some pretty heavy machine components, which is completely understandable because of the scale of the company and also just how nice their machine stitching are. And that's pretty much it. Overall, their qualities are great. They are not 100% handcrafted, but what company have we reviewed so far that's 100% handcrafted? Come on. So overall, I really like their product. Now, something funny to mention, it's a personal story, and I do like to share my personal opinions about companies. Obviously, you don't need to listen to me if you don't want to, but it's about this cover. So this is a black Traveler's Company Traveler's notebook that I cut down to a Hobonichi Weeks size. So it's a lot smaller, as you can see, compared to a regular size. I took this to the inspiration lab at Baumkuchen a summer, I think past this, the summer of 2019 is what I'm trying to say. The issue I had with it is that I was trying to add a pocket. As you can see, this is the pocket that I added, and the stitching at the bottom here are kind of going down. So I didn't do too great of a job at keeping it level. And this is back when I believe I just started trying leatherworking. I did this probably, I did this definitely before I had a shop, obviously, but this might be one of the first things I tried to do. And so that gave me a problem because they're facing downward this way. So anything I put in the pocket, they will tend to tilt toward the center and slip out. And I didn't like that. So when I brought this over, I asked them if they could kind of take out my stitching and stitch over them, which they said no, because it's not doable. And what they did or suggested instead is to put in some rivets here so that it keeps this whole pocket a little bit more level. So now the pocket is more functional than it was. Obviously, I had other customization done on this, but when I was talking to Ame about this, she came up with the idea, or Ame is a staff at Baumkuchen. She came up with the idea to add rivets. And I thought it was a great idea, So she took my cover over to the owner of the Superior Labor, and she explained to him what I wanted done, because he was the one manning the rivet station at the event. And he looked at this, he was about to add the rivets. I was waiting by him, and he looked at this and he turned back at me. He was like, "Did you stitch this yourself?" And let me tell you, I was very embarrassed because I knew that this is not great stitching. I mean, like, if you just look at it, it's not great stitching. And so I was kind of embarrassed. I'm like, yeah. And then he said, "Oh, you did a really good job." And you have no idea what that meant to me, because I was embarrassed. I was trying to make something work for me or salvage whatever I had effed up. And he looked at it and he was like, "You did a really good job." And I'm like, I know I didn't, but it's so nice to hear him say that. It doesn't really matter whether he actually thought that I did a great job or not. I so appreciated him encouraging me. And so after I did the modification, I came back from the event. I eventually decided to try and practice hand stitching more and make my stitching better. And this is essentially, I was doing kind of a little bit of leather work here and there, mostly modifying my own things, and him encouraging me at the event really helped me make up my mind to continue doing this. And after I had improved a lot, when I was thinking like, oh, I think my stitching will look a lot better than this, I sent him a message on Instagram. I took pictures of this and then took pictures of my more recent, and this is like a year ago. I sent him pictures of my more recent work from a year ago, back then, and I said, I don't know if you remember me from the event from a few months ago, but you said, you complimented on my stitching even though I knew that it wasn't great, and I think I've made some improvement, and thank you for encouraging me. He responded on Instagram and said, definitely, yeah, you've made a lot of progress. He said he could see them in the picture, and then he gave me some suggestions on what other things to work on. And so I have had really good experience interacting with them. They're one of the reasons why I wanted to continue. They're not the reason why I started to do a little bit of leather work, but they're definitely the reason why I decided that I wanted to get better at doing leather work. And I really appreciate that. Overall, I've had really good experience with them. I've known other people that have really good experience with them. They have personal ringed planner if you're interested in ringed planners. They have these folios, and I know that they just recently made an A5 folio as well. They have these folios in A6. They're either in canvas or all leather in A6, B6 Slim, A5 Slim, and now A5. They have an A5 size writer's organizer as a collaboration with Nomado Store. They have an A4 folio with Nomado Store. And they also have traveler's notebook style notebooks in A6 and A5. So if you're thinking about using any of the covers, and the personal size ring planner can be de-ringed to fit a B6. I have personally done that, and it's very easy to do, and it doesn't damage the planner in any way whatsoever. So I definitely say go ahead and give them a try. They're smaller items like the pen holders, the pen sleeves, pen rolls, and whatnot are very good quality. I don't really see me getting rid of really any of the ones that I have, even though I definitely don't use all of them at the same time. But overall, I'd say they're really good. Now, let's talk about pricing. Their stuff is not cheap. This thing is well over like 100 something USD. This is like 110 to 120 USD. This cover is somewhere over 100. This utility pouch is also well over 100. So if you want to get the all leather items, they are expensive. Do I think they're overpriced? Honestly, probably a little bit, I would say. Now, don't get me wrong, I obviously love them. I love the quality. I feel like you should be able to get something like this or similar to this for cheaper? Absolutely. Because I know that leathers are not that expensive. But do I have crazy brand loyalty? Yes, I also do. So after a certain point, it's about whether you want to spend a lot of money on something that's arguably one of the better quality items you can find, like a little pen pouch here for a lot of money, or if you want to look for a cheaper alternative, but it might not be exactly the same. It might have slightly worse leather. It might have slightly different configuration so that it just doesn't work or feel the same. It's really a question up to you. I know you can find pen rolls that are also made of good quality from other places. Obviously, you can find a little pouch from other places as well for cheaper. It's really up to you, in my personal opinion. Now, I've tried a bunch of pouches and a bunch of pen rolls from a lot of different places, and what I can say is that they excel at the construction of the items. So it's easy to say that this is just a piece of leather or two pieces of leather put together, but it's significantly harder and it requires a lot more attention to detail for you to have kind of this folded edge wrapping around the whole thing, for you to have a corner made like this, for you to have the built-in kind of like room for bulk as opposed to just like this kind of flat pen area for you to slide things in. Same thing as this little pen pouch. For one, nobody's making something like this, and two, they go just a step further to make their product stand out from other people. Even for this pouch, it's not hard to make a leather pouch. And the leather doesn't cost that much money, but they go a step further and make a leather tag, and they add a piece of leather to reinforce the bottom. So if you just count the price of the leather and the hours of work that they might put into it, their prices might be a little bit higher, but the effort that they put in to make sure that their designs are just a step better than other designs of similar product make it so that they are pretty irreplaceable compared to a lot of the other makers that make similar products. I hope I'm making sense here. And ultimately, to me, I would gladly pay what I think is a slightly overpriced item to have the extra feature that are not necessarily functional per se, but other makers wouldn't put in the effort to do because it's just such a minor thing. But if you use an item frequently enough, for long enough, those little details stand out. That's my personal experience. So what I recommend this brand to everyone, I think you need to have a specific type of aesthetic to like their items. If you are a big fan of the more refined Giglio, Louis Vuitton, Van der Spek look, these are not for you because it doesn't look refined. If you're on a budget, I would say try out one of their canvas items. They are more affordable and their canvases are great quality. They will last you a long time, even though it's not leather. I personally am a very big fan of their pouches, and I have something like 8 or 9 canvas pouches from them. If you do like the brand from their canvas items and you have the cash to spend on an all leather item, I would say that if you just want to look at the monetary value of the item and get something that's worth the money, it's probably not the best bang for your buck. But if you're looking for something specific and you want to pay extra to make sure that it's just that smidge more well thought out than other similar products on the market, then I would say that these are worth the price tag. So I hope that was helpful. I will do another The Superior Labor review in the future for their larger items, their bags, their backpacks, that kind of stuff. So stay tuned for that if you are curious. I hope you enjoy this video, and if you want to see more videos from me, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. If you have any recommendations for what to cover next, please also leave a comment down below so that I know. Just for if you stayed for this long in this video, here are some videos that I'm currently writing for or doing research for. I'm working on a vendor spec video for sure. I'm doing or planning for a Sojourner USA video as well. Some of the makers I have plans for, but I'm not as close to being able to make a coherent video with them. So definitely keep me posted if you have anything in mind or any recommendations, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!